Welcome to the first episode of News from the Permaculture Podcast. This is an ongoing series of releases to share news about permaculture, as well as when permaculture is in the news, to keep you informed of what's currently happening in and around the world for permaculture and permaculture-adjacent practitioners, students, and teachers. In addition to hearing all of that, at the end of these episodes are updates on what's happening at the Permaculture Podcast, so you can know what's coming up from the show and what's going on behind the scenes. For patrons of the Permaculture Podcast, they receive their own special patron news episodes that contain other updates and information just for them. If you're not a patron and would like to hear the patron news or get early access to ad-free episodes, the place to do that right now is over at patreon.com/permaculturepodcast. In the show notes, you'll find organized links to that and the other items mentioned today. So relax, listen, and enjoy, knowing you can easily connect with the people and projects that spark your interest in this episode. Let's get started with news from the world and news item number 1. I recently connected with the folks at EcoAgriculture Partners, and in getting to know them, they introduced me to Terraso, an open-source collection of software built by a global team, including members from Colombia, Ecuador, and Kenya. Their goal is to make it easier for farmers and land managers to collect, store, map, and share data from their farm or landscape, ease the work of capacity building into organizations and the environment, and to use everything collected on the ground and in the field to then tell human stories. As a computer scientist by education and a storyteller by family tradition, I'm quite excited to see what comes from Terraso as they flourish and mature, because the human element is central to their work. And, as I understand it from my sparse notes, they included farmers, land managers, and other stakeholders in their development processes before writing their code. As this episode goes live, Terraso just launched, and your participation and engagement will not only enrich your own experience as a permaculture practitioner, but also help this project grow and reach their goals. You'll find them at terraso.org, terraso.org. News item number 2. Longtime friend of the show, Joshua Hughes, and I have been catching up recently, and he let me know about their newest project where community partners in Costa Rica are preparing to acquire and preserve 6,500 hectares of jungle land for the local community. This project includes setting aside 100 acres for permaculture and agroforestry projects to create an income for native Costa Ricans, and to restore another 5,000 hectares of what is currently clear-cut cattle land into a lush, diverse jungle canopy by 2023. If you aren't following the work of VerdEnergia or Black Sheep, definitely do so if you are interested in these kinds of large-scale, globally sourced, community-based and led permaculture projects. Once this land restoration project goes live in the near future, I'm going to sit down and talk with Joshua a bit more fully so that I can learn more about the details, and then I will be creating some episodes that I can share with you not only about the project, but also the means and methods of this work and others that continue to grow in Western Costa Rica. News item number 3. One of the books that helped me deepen my understanding of what it means to practice people care at a policy level was Richard Rothstein's The Color of Law, A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America, which examines racial and economic injustice as practiced within the legal structures of the United States. Recently, Richard Rothstein, along with Leah Rothstein, released Just Action, How to Challenge Segregation Enacted Under the Color of Law, which serves as a follow-up to The Color of Law and a practical plan for dismantling systems of oppression by citizens and people in places of power. Though I'm currently not very far into the book, I do see it as an excellent resource for anyone working on issues of policy at the town or city, municipal level, or higher, and recommend it to anyone who is doing that kind of work or who is familiar with Richard Rothstein's other writings. News item number 4. Anna Urbanik, who I had on the show as a guest in late 2021 to discuss her book, The Herbalist's Primer, launched a new Kickstarter for the next book in this series, The Geologist's Primer, an illustrated guide to the folklore and magic that surrounds gems, rocks, and metals. That campaign runs through July 26th, 2023, so if you like rocks, enjoyed the interview with Anna, or have a copy of the first book and love it like I did, check out and back the campaign today, which I did before sitting down to record this episode. From there, let's move to news from the podcast. Podcast news item number 1. If you'd like to hear me on the other side of the microphone, I was recently a guest on Greg Peterson's The Urban Farm podcast, where we discussed the ripples of permaculture, part 1 and part 2, where I engaged in my long format storytelling to share a variety of thoughts about what permaculture looks like in practice, in place, and over time. News from the podcast, item number 2. For everyone who heard my episode introducing the change of direction for the podcast, thank you for sending me your questions. Based on those, I'm working on episodes about landscape restoration, how to save one's family farm, and world reports to look at permaculture in Lebanon, permaculture in Detroit, and permaculture in the Czech Republic. If you live in an amazing country or city that is doing awesome work on permaculture and would like to collaborate with me on similar upcoming episodes, reach out to me directly, show@thepermaculturepodcast.com. That email address, which I'll repeat again here in a moment, is also where you can reach me directly to provide feedback about this and future news episodes as part of the change of direction for the Permaculture podcast. As all of this is still new to me and emerging, I need your help to make these short format episodes into something you'd love to listen to every time. So let your voice be heard. Send me an email and share your thoughts. Again, that is show@thepermaculturepodcast.com. Until the next time, connect with the projects you heard today so they can grow, succeed, and flourish while taking care of Earth, yourself, and each other.